Welcome to Queensland Raceway for round 2 of the Formula V Super Series 2000. With me in central commentary is Ray Filleti. Now Ray, Formula Vs, they're close to your heart, you know plenty about them. What's your prediction here today?
Well, I think we've got some of the cream of Formula V drivers from around Australia here today. As a matter of fact, half the field are interstaters of the about 20 cars we've got on the grid. There's Jason Cutts from New South Wales, Shane Hart from Queensland, he's a fast runner. We've got Hart Mason from Victoria, look, and there are several others. Here they go, who knows who could win?
Well, that's right, Formula V is what we could call entry level into motor racing, but incredibly fast machines. All identical 1200cc, lots of different chassis makes, but it really comes back to the driver. The secret, Ray, around this particular circuit with the very fast flowing corners is carrying the corner speed.
Exactly right. As a matter of fact, this is a great Formula V circuit. They're going around turn 3 at the moment. When they get up and running off the line on the remaining laps, they'll be going flat through turn 1, flat through turn 2. Here they come up to turn 3. The corners are just fast enough to go through flat, but slow enough to keep the cars behind them, so there should be big packs going into all the hairpin braking corners.
Well, Formula V has been around for about 200 years, back in the days of Ben-Hur and the Chariots, but I tell you what, it is providing incredibly close racing, and I guess you could say, Ray, very cost-effective for people to come on board. Yeah,
it's the by far the least expensive open-wheel circuit racing category by a long way, and it'll be like that for a long way to come. Who knows what will happen in the future, but the racing is just the best.
Well, I guess you could say that with it being a controlled formula, it very much comes back to the driver. Now, I mentioned before about Formula V's going back a long way. A lot of established people, in fact, even Larry Perkins, way back, had a fair bit of history in Formula V, I believe.
Right, Larry Perkins, John Bowe, Cam McConville is a current driver, Jason Bargwanna, who's just won Bathurst, the most notable Formula V driver. There's even someone by the name of I. Luff who's driven a V in the past.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to say too much about that. I didn't want to become a legend, but I guess you could say, yes, I've driven Formula Vs, and I'd have to say, for our Speed Week viewers, these cars really providing plenty of action. They're all on a controlled tyre. It's a treaded tyre as opposed to a slick tyre. And they've got incredible braking on these vehicles simply because they're light. I mean, in this day and age, what's the minimum weight for Formula V, Ray?
It's 460 kilos, although there's one or two people out on the screen at the moment who are well over the 500 mark. They do need to go on a weight loss diet, and we've been trying to convince them of that. But most of the cars are between 460 and 470.
Well, that's pretty light, isn't it? In fact, at the moment, the real lightweight one in front is Jason Cutts, I believe, number 6, and that's the Jacer, which is a very effective chassis. Now, you can see the vehicles here coming to the outside. Oh, a sensational outside move. I don't know whether Jason or Racing Jason, as he's known to everyone else, was having a bit of a snooze, but slipstreaming here at this circuit or getting a tow really makes a big difference.
That's right. You'll see them going down the back straight now. Jason will, no doubt, I was about to say he was going to catch up into Shane Hart's slipstream, but he looks like he's trying to just hold off Hart Mason, the purple car behind him. Yes, you were talking about the chassis before. Obviously, the Jacers are built by the Jason and David Cutts brothers in Riverstone, Sydney. Hart Mason's got one there as well. The leading car there, from driven by Shane Hart, is a Jabiru built by Bernie Cashin in Queensland.
A Jabiru.
That's right.
That sounds something very indigenous, but it must be a pretty spectacular chassis. It seems to be working quite well. But looking through the list, we've got Phoenix, we've got Spectra, Manta, Jacer, Elfin, a thing called a Kestrel. That goes back a fairly long way, if my memory serves me correctly, and even the historic Elfins. But have a look at this screen at the moment. Almost 3 abreast down into the first corner, and Cutts has gone and resumed that number 1 position. So that's pretty good for the New South Welshman leading the Queenslander.
All right, look at Jason go through turn 2. That's a fast corner. Let's see what he does down here. Will he? He's hugging the fast line, and they're hard on the brakes again. But as I said, Shane Hart's hard on his tail. Let's see how long it takes before Hart Mason can catch them now.
Well, I guess you could say that when you look at Shane Hart, he's a very accomplished Queenslander. He'd probably have a little bit of home track advantage here at Queensland Motor Raceway, or Willowbank as it's called to some people. So home track advantage make a big difference?
Well, it's actually only half home track advantage because they're running on the shorter circuits here today. They're not using the full circuit. So I don't know if Shane's had the opportunity to run these truncated tracks before, but no doubt turns 1 and turns 2 will help Shane. Jason did race here last year, so he knows at least a little bit of the circuit. Let's see what happens here now as they come into turn one. Shane's gone around him, but Hart's closed the gap slightly on Jason. Jason had to go to the inside.
Well, that was a great move because he really got that slipstreaming effect of getting the toe, getting tucked right on the back of the gearbox. There's a great shot of the Jacer number 6, which is, as we said, Jason Cutts. And the Cutts family have been around a long time, really, very, I suppose, supportive of motor racing. But this number 27 vehicle behind, which is Hart Mason in that beautifully presented purple car, SMS Consulting on the side. It's more like insulting the way he's crawling all over the back of Jason Cutts at the moment. So maybe he's touting for business. But these front three cars have really spread the field very much so. So it could be any... Oh, look at that. You just saw Shane Hart come through there. Very unusual to see a Formula V get sideways.
Well, not if you're really close to the action. If you're close behind some of these cars, you'd actually see them twitch and buck and snap, and sometimes they understeer going into corners, sometimes they oversteer going into corners.
Well, understeer, oversteer, or any sort of steer, Ray, I'll tell you what, these guys are flying. Have a look at this. You've got Jason Cutts in the number 6 car, a sensational move right round the outside. Now, I suppose in these races, they believe that it's not a good career move to lead on the last lap. Is that true?
Well, that actually changes from circuit to circuit. Some circuits like Eastern Creek have got a long way from the last corner to the finish line, and you definitely don't want to lead there. But on others, you do have to lead. It just depends on the circuit.
Well, very much so. Now, these three front cars here, you could throw almost a postage stamp over the top of them. And you can see the 27 car looking for an outside move. Now, this is, race viewers, is what is called racecraft, where I guess you could say that the vehicle behind is trying to have little, we'll call false moves or feinting left and right, and that's trying to really confuse the driver in front. Isn't that right, Ray?
That's right. As a matter of fact, I'm told that on these races earlier on the day, they're actually foxing for half the laps, and only about half the laps they were really desperate to get the lead at the end of the straights.
Well, Hart Mason's pulling out of the slipstream, a great move, but Jason Cutts has got this covered. These three cars, they're travelling incredibly close. Now, turn one at Willowbank Raceway, as you see, is absolutely flat out in fourth gear. We go through turn number 2. You can actually see the corner speed and just how much these cars are sliding.
Right, this is probably the fastest corners on any circuit other than, let's say, turn 1 at Phillip Island. They really do mean you've got to keep your foot down and your heart in your mouth.
Well, Shane Hart from Queensland in that black car, number 81 in second spot, right behind Jason Cutts in the Jacer. He is really a class act. He's moving left, he's moving right, he's filling the mirrors. But we've got Hart Mason in that purple car behind, and the way things are looking at the moment, that any one of these three here could take it out. It's sort of as they come onto the main straight. The key is to carry the corner speed, get the steering lock off, third gear up into fourth gear. What would they be revving the engines to at the moment, Ray?
All of these three cars are top engine cars. They could be revving to 6,500 RPM, which is amazing for a little 1200 VW engine.
Well, I was going to say that there we've got one lap to go, the last lap, and have a look at this, the Queenslander. You can see then a fantastic move. The number 81, Shane Hart, has gone into the lead. Now, Jason Cutts, if he's going to make a move, where do you suggest is the best spot for him?
Well, I'd say this is it. If he doesn't get the lead on this slipstream past Shane, there's Shane going to the inside. Well, this could be it.
Well, it looks that way. Great bit of racecraft. You can see the Queenslander, a little bit of home track advantage, and he's actually broken away to a small lead now. Unless Jason Cutts can get back on the exhaust pipe of the car in front, it's going to go to Shane Hart. They come along this short straight. They're going to be hard on the brakes, back through the gears. You can see there that Hart Mason in the purple car moves to the outside. Oh, look at the 81 car sideways through this part of the circuit. It's going to go right to the wire, Ray. It's
great, typically Formula V racing. I think this is the last corner. Now they're just going to be revving it in third, up to fourth, and let's see what happens.
Well, as they come to the wire, you can see it there. It's Shane Hart in the 81 car leading. Jason Cutts behind. He pulls out of the slipstream. I don't think he's got enough. No, the Queenslander, Shane Hart, takes a sensational victory for Queensland. In second place, the number 6 Jacer of Jason Cutts. And in third place, car 27, Hart Mason. Well, Ray, you can't get much closer than that.
Well, Ian, as a matter of fact, only 0.04 of a second separated the first two cars. Stay with us.